Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, pop and lock and salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the mashup. Welcome to the welcome to the mashup.
Welcome to the Mashup.
We're all hypocrites. Every single one of us. Hello, everybody. Hello, fellow hypocrites. You see, when the French language debate got delayed, or moved up by a couple hours to accommodate the Habs, we cried foul. We thought, this is malarkey. This is crap. Why would we move it for a hockey game? But I guarantee you, if this had happened for any team other than the Leafs or the Habs, for something that fit locally, we would have been like, oh, this is great. How classically Canadian is this, that we had to move this big deal of an event around a hockey game because we're Canada and we love hockey and that's how it all goes. But we didn't do any of that because it was the Frogs. And so as much as I think it was stupid that we moved it,
was stupid we moved it.
I'll be the first to admit that if we'd have done it for another hockey team in another place for another reason, we would have just worn it as a mantle of pride.
I'll be curious what Donovan has to say when we bring him in, but I just disagree. I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous that we moved a national debate, one of two, because of a hockey game. Happy Friday, Good Friday today. Hopefully, our numbers are low today, and you're somewhere else. Whether you believe or not, today is a pretty significant day, Twos, and we're going to keep Twos on track today. No swearing today, Twos. Okay, no swearing today. He's going to be on his best behavior, folks. Thanks for tuning in this morning, 10 a.m. here on a Good Friday, and Glenn's in Stetler. Well, hopefully he gets wears new hat. Yeah.
Oh, there's a whole thing.
Okay.
That's what we got going on. And then,
well, Good Friday. Happy Airborne Friday to the military men. Happy Good Friday to all the believers out there. Shout out to you. And Coots 6.5. Well, no, wait. Like, share, crush the retweet button. Like it keeps interrupting your debate. We'll get into the debate here soon enough. Old jag meat. And that was interesting. Twos and I on another short turnaround. We were up till maybe you watched the live stream last night till roughly 9:30. For those on the podcast, I'm going to air it again on Monday. So if you missed any of it, you can watch it in its entirety there. But happy Airborne Friday. Happy Friday to everybody hopping in. It is Mashup 154, or as you can tell, Good Friday. Yes, we are here again. Twos, you want to bring in our first guest, or you want to talk Coots in 6.5? Do you got a story on 6.5?
Let's bring in our first.
All right.
Well,
I
do. I've got. Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's bring in Donovan.
Let's bring in Donovan Extra. It's in. It's out. It's out.
Hi, hello.
Well, welcome back, Grand Prairie. How's Grand Prairie doing?
Beautiful. It's windy and sunny, so it's a beautiful thing. You can see the mountains in the distance.
I was going to say it sounds
nice.
like Lloydminster minus the mountains. It's windy and it's sunny this morning. Yeah, that sounds about right.
As is the way. Yes, very Lethbridgey in its own.
Now you're running for the Rhino Party.
Correct. Yes, I've run for them in every federal election since 2011. It is a party that I stand for.
I was not aware of that.
I believe in them. Yes, since I was 19, I ran for them when it was Peace River up here, and then I ran in Edmonton, Strathcona, Edmonton Center. Then I made my way back up here, Grand Prairie, and now I'm Grand Prairie again.
So what is the Rhino Party?
Excellent. So,
fire away, Twos.
I know all about the Rhino Party, but Sean probably doesn't, and a lot of our viewers probably don't as well.
Yeah, well, so the Rhinoceros Party is modern democracy's longest-lasting satirical party. We've existed since 1963 when those beautiful French, weird Quebec performance artists back in 62 or 63 decided to run on a platform where we promised to not keep any of our promises. which is why we don't typically win well, because we're a bit too honest. So, for instance, some of the stuff that we're promising, some of the original promises was, we're going to promote higher education by building taller schools. I'm currently in the middle of one. Well, and you come up with sort of certain ones. I think that, in response to any tariffs to us, we'll send, every time the U.S. raises a tariff, we'll mail them a single Canadian goose. There's a whole variety of promises that we can do here. And it's a beautiful thing to mock rightly political parties that genuinely don't care about you and only want your vote.
Yeah, you guys have really had some bangers over the years. My two favorites personally are when you guys said that you were going to abolish the law of gravity, and then also that you were going to gradually, over the course of 5 years, move from right driving to left driving.
Correct. Yeah. And then, so of course, we don't want to just move it fully over because that would cause too much chaos. So we would start off with bicycles, and then we'd make our way up to sort of sports cars, SUVs, trucks, and then eventually semis would, and that's
Donovan,
sort of
I'm curious. What like back in 2011? Why? Like, what attracted you to this? Like, why you're like this? Actually, yeah, I'm in for it.
So, I remember watching the news with my parents, and this was back in 2000. It was during the whole part 2006, 2008, when it seemed like there was an election every 2 years, and they decided to do a thing on little parties, sort of the fringe parties. And so they went through, like, here's the Christian Heritage Party, here's the Communist Party, and then they're like, and then there's this political party that promises to invade Cuba and repaint Havana with paintball guns. And in that moment, I looked at my parents and I was like, is this a real party? And they were like, oh yeah, they've been around for a bit. They temporarily disappeared. So in the 90s,
early 90s,
because they said in order to be a registered political party, you have to have 50 candidates running, and there was a non-refundable deposit. So you'd essentially have to spend like $50,000 to exist. So all the fringe parties kind of fell off. That was challenged constitutionally, and then or charter challenged, and then we made our way back here. So, but yes, yeah. So I remember watching, and I was like, I want to run for these guys. And then, lo and behold, 2011 hits. I reach out to them, and then I was the first Western runner since they came back.
So you were telling us before we started that you've been out door knocking. Have you been getting have you been able to put up a lot of signs in people's yards? What kind of feedback have you been receiving?
It's been,
how's your message resonating?
Oh, it's, people have been pretty positive. I put up a couple signs. There's a few on lawns. Listen, you might be shocked to realize this, but the Rhino Party doesn't have a lot of money. So this is money coming out of my pocket. And then if you don't understand how so official agents, like, there's so many rules for accepting donations that it just becomes a headache. So I'm just putting my money. I bought about 20 or so signs that I put around the area. I've given a couple to friends and supporters. I'm expecting to get maybe 2 of them back, because if I was in high school and I saw a sign like this, I would totally steal it. So I'm well aware that I'm not gonna. I'm pretty much just burning money, but you know what? That's a part of the process. That's a beautiful thing.
Well,
of democracy.
that is a very key part of Canadian politics. The only difference being that this is actually your money. Now, the question is were you faced with any kind of a conundrum on whether to run Rhino locally or run in Carleton?
Oh, yes. Oh, 100%. And I'm always feeling that. But yes, the beautiful, yes, the long ballot reaches its heart. But I think there's a Rhino already there. That ballot's so beautiful. I think I am jealous that Carleton gets to truly experience democracy, while all of us fools get little ballots with 5, maybe 6, and then they get choice. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
How many votes are you gonna get this year? I'm just curious. Like, if you're in my riding, I'd probably vote for you, right? Like, I'm not even GP. Like, how many votes are you actually gonna get?
So I usually, when I'm running when I was on the long ballot, I got maybe 3 or 4. But when I run up here, I get typically around 350. So, about the town of Byzantin, like there's a weird community. There's about 350 weirdos here that'll vote for me, which I always appreciate. I think it's going to be more. I'm feeling the door knocking. The signs, I think, have been helping quite a bit. I think that's been a sort of, that's my first time. Usually I would just hop into garbage bins and pull out cardboard and then Sharpie my name on it and then put them in places. So this is a step up. So I think I'm probably going to get, I think I'm shooting for 400. I think 400 would be that'd be the most I've ever gotten, which would be quite thrilling.
One other question for me. Twos might have one more before we let you out of here. But as far as debates go, how's that been? Like, because I mean, I assume you get to roll in from the, like, do you? I don't know. Do you take the debate like super serious, or you like, listen, none of these guys can promise anything. What you're going to get from me is true on it. I don't know. How do you approach that?
So so you can actually watch. We did have the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce debate if you want to watch it. So I usually go in. My whole goal is to make people chuckle, which I did make the moderator chuckle a little bit, which was good. But I kind of just, my goal is at the start saying, hey, I'm going to be making fun of your favorite political party. And if you take it personally, like, check yourself, because these parties genuinely don't care about you and would throw you under the bus if it guaranteed them a majority for a decade. And then I go into making absurd promises. So just like that one, what was another one? I have a little list of promises. Transportation, and every single time I start it, I say that this is the number one priority of the Rhino Party. Transportation is the number one priority of the Rhino Party. We will convert traffic lights into interpretive light shows choreographed by Cirque du Soleil. Yeah, so there's, and then you just, but I make sure that my promises are very short so that everybody else can talk, and then they sound, and then it's so like, you get a minute to respond. I use about 6 seconds, say something dumb, move on. This was the first time though that I actually laid out what my platform would be if I won at the very end, where I got serious and then I threw on a clown nose. But I described, like, if I was to somehow pull off the impossible, heaven forbid, Chris Warkington loses, suddenly 75% of the vote goes to me. I would work towards sort of closing all those loopholes on all the different transparency legislation, and lowering political party donations to $100 flat, and sort of trying to keep that big weird money where stuff goes missing, or weird money funneling and laundering that takes place in our politics, which I know, by doing that, I'm probably not going to get a whole lot done. But then it also is an indictment on our system not wanting to fix things. So,
any final questions, too? Before we?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so here's one. You just were featured in an article in the local paper, My Grand Prairie Now. Do you have any other media appearances that you're looking at or working on?
Yeah, they're all, so like all of our media outside of the Daily Herald, which last election left me off. They ignored me, and now they're not even covering the candidates. So that just goes to show, like, corruption and
corporate censorship. Yep,
just getting censored. This is Pravda. This is beautiful. This is comeuppance. It's beautiful. Anyway, so they're not covering anything, but everything GP, the Town and Country News, pretty much any of the other media has sort of checked in with me, which has been quite nice.
Excellent.
Donovan, I appreciate you coming on. You make Good Friday just an excellent start. Instead of hearing some of the just crap going on in Canada, I got all the time in the world for this. Best of luck with the campaign. Thanks for giving us some time this morning.
Take care, gents. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Can we just? Well, I don't know.
My guest.
Yeah, I know, but okay, fine, okay, Quick Dick. I see you're watching out there. I see that comment. All right, can we get a comment for our next guest? All right, she's the Alberta director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Put your hands together for the one, the only, Chris Sims. Chris.
Hey, Chris.
How's it going?
Hello.
What did you think of the debate last night, Chris?
So I was trying to watch it in a packed Edmonton bar, and it was super loud. And can I tell a little story?
This is why you're here.
So I'm touring with our dear friend Franco Terrazzano. You might have heard of him because he wrote this book. And so we figured, hey, it's a federal election. Everything's super slow. Let's do a book tour. That's a good idea. So we were having a launch party, a watch party for the debate at the Edmonton pub, and I phoned them like weeks ago. Sean, you'll appreciate this as you're trying to herd cats for your upcoming Cornerstone. Weeks ago, and they said, yeah, no problem. You can have a TV on with the volume up because it's a debate. Everything's fine. Called them back twice. Everything's still fine. Had a spidey sense as we're just leaving Red Deer, heading up to Edmonton last night. Called them about 2 hours ahead of time. Hey, just making sure we're still good to go for tonight. Oh, yeah, it's fine, except you guys won't have any volume. No sound. I'm like, well, that's a big problem. He's like, seriously, why would it be a problem if you can't hear anything if you're just watching a debate? I said, because they're speaking English and you need to be able to hear what they're saying. It's not a sporting event. So anyway, long story short, I booted it down to the closest big box store. And yeah, I am now a proud owner of a new TV. So here we go. And
Hey.
I duct taped it to the table and everybody got to hear it. And the show went on. So yeah, long story short, I did watch as much of the debate as I could through stress sweating to make sure that the show happened. I thought it was good. I like Steve Paikin as the moderator. He tries to keep a lid on things, I find, as best as possible. I liked the focus on affordability. I am so sick and tired of the stupid Ottawa terrarium fights between staffers. Like literally nobody cares. Like 13 people care. Stop holding 40 million people hostage. Liked all the back and forth on energy. What I still don't get as a rural Western girl is how someone like Mark Carney can keep saying he wants Canada to be an energy superpower when he's opposed to pipelines, wants 80% of oil and gas to stay in the ground, and says directly in his book that 90% of our energy needs can come from solar and wind. Like he believes this. So that part is the disconnect I'm not understanding. I don't know if he's had a huge change of mind and change of heart, or if he's just saying one thing and planning the other.
He's a politician, Chris. He's willing to say whatever he wants to get into power.
Oh, but he's an outsider, Sean.
Well, it's funny. He referred to Canada in the third person, or well, he at one point he said we, and then he said, "Sorry, I mean Canada," and you're like, "Yeah, you're actually right here."
You're good with the we here, sir. You're good. You're not on the BBC in London right now. You're fine. Yeah, I know. I caught that too.
Did you see all the, okay, so a coffee this morning, we were talking about it and everyone's like, well, the big news isn't what actually happened in the debate. It was all the surroundings of Rebel News and the media circus and everything else. I assume you've watched all the videos. I assume you've watched Rosie Barton and like all of that. And they had to be police escorted out. And it was such a dangerous thing. And like Zoltan had a video. I can't remember, was it last night or this morning? Doesn't matter. Of where he's showing like all the cops there, and you're like, holy crap! Like I get it. You got national debate, prime minister's there, blah 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 blah. You get the point. But like the way they build it is like, they couldn't guarantee their safety. These people are unhinged, and on and on and on. Chris, you've been in these rooms around this. Like, what are your thoughts?
What's your take?
So that was embarrassing, like super embarrassing. So yeah, I was a parliamentary press gallery journalist forever, for like close to 20 years, probably around 15 years. I've been to, so for people who understand, so they can understand, in a debate like this, all of the candidates are in like one physical building. In this case, I believe it was Radio Canada in Montreal. So a physical building, and they're in a physical room, and that's where the debate studio is, and all the feeds are coming out of that. In a separate room, but on the same site, is usually what's called the media room. And it's long rows of tables, and everybody gets to have their little plug-in and their own little laptop and their earbuds in, and they get to watch on a monitor and think of the questions they want to ask. And then there's off to the side of that, there's usually what we would call a shot box or a shot studio, where the individual party leaders will come out afterwards for the post-debate scrum. And they stand there at a pool mic so everybody can hear the audio and get the feed. And then reporters typically line up. It's like lining up to get on a carousel, but way less fun. And so you line up at the microphone, and usually in that situation, it's first come, first serve. So my understanding is after the French debate, the mainstream media got their nose in a snit because a lot of the independent media got up early and stood at the microphones. Now, there's no rules as to who can go stand at the microphones. Like, that's just, if you want to go stand there all day and not sit at your desk and write stuff down, that's your choice. But you are usually going to get first crack at the question. So it's probably a smart strategic move on your newsroom's part. And so then, this is my understanding, then last night after the English debate, all hell kind of broke loose. Now, to be fair, I've only watched a couple of the videos. And again, I always recommend, as a longtime journalist and somebody who does media training with people, always watch the longest tape you can possibly find.
Yep.
Always try to get as much context as you can. So the one tape that I've seen in full, well, two. One, it was Sheila's quick talk back where she was standing there in the media pit and looked pretty mad with Rebel News and explaining what had happened from her perspective. And I thought she explained herself well. But the main thing I've seen is that kind of locked off shot, looks like it's shot off of a phone, where the Hill Times reporter is turned around talking to some independent, I can't tell, he's got a ball cap on.
Cian Baxty.
Okay, well, he was speaking to the independent guys behind him, and it kept escalating. And from what I can hear, it sounded like it was the Hill Times guy that was just yelling and yelling and yelling and yelling and kept being disruptive. Now, again, back in my day, they wouldn't have cared if you were from the CBC or like a blogger. If you started yelling at full volume like that and disrupting the room, they would kick you out. Like one of the media managers who's organizing the event, again, they wouldn't care if you're right wing or left wing, CBC, CTV wouldn't matter. It's like, excuse me, knock it off or you're out of here. Not one more word. And I don't know why that just went on and on and on. It was like a 7-minute long video. So that looked like a gong show. Also, what's frustrating is that journalists, you're not supposed to be the story. And they're letting themselves be all of the story last night. I tuned into CTV this morning. They were apoplectic and they weren't talking about what the leaders were talking about, which will affect our taxes and our standard of living.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. The big story last night was the media. And the media is not supposed to be
so stupid.
But when you watch videos, Cian Baxty sitting there, and I agree with you, Chris. The longest form where you can try and take in the full context of whatever the heck is going on. So obviously there was a conversation going on before that you don't have all the prerequisites to fully understand. But when the guy starts losing his mind, you're like, where's the person that just says, listen, no more? And it probably would have just died out, right? Like a grown-up should have just walked over, like no more of this.
But if they let it go, then they have an excuse to shut it down, and they don't have
you're not wrong.
The crazy right-wingers asking questions.
And to your point there, Twos, it wasn't just that the later narrative, like this morning during the talk shows, is now dominated by what happened to the media. Again, nobody cares. Stop it. Quit talking about yourselves. Talk to Canadians about what those dudes all said, because that's what's going to make their life more affordable or not. It actually had a significant material impact last night because a lot of those strong clips we're used to seeing from debate night are from the media talkbacks, and there was none. They scrapped it. They canceled it altogether.
Yeah.
To Sean's point, because they couldn't guarantee the safety of the venue or some reason for that along those lines. And that is wrong, because everyone from every walk of life, it doesn't matter if they want to vote for the NDP or the Conservatives or whatever, they deserve to hear what those guys are saying to the media and answering the media's questions. And that entire process was canceled last night because of this jackassery. And so this is where I'm getting frustrated here, because journalists are supposed to have certain levels of professional standards. And one of them is to try your best. It doesn't always work that way. Try your best to not be the story. And from what I could tell, again, just watching that one video, that one dude with the mustache, super loud volume, totally disrupting other people around him, at minute after minute after minute, it kept going. And again, I'd say the same thing if he was from True North and beacon off like that and noising up the entire room. But it looks like he was from more of a mainstream outlet.
What did you think of the actual debate? Like, like when we sat down last night after the debate was over and we had the group of us together, we all talked about it back and forth. I guess, what did you think of Carney? And what did you think of Polyev? I think those are, we can get into the other two, but realistically, the two that matter, and maybe Tuz will disagree with me, are Carney and Polyev. What did you think of the debate?
So I wasn't able to hear much of it last night at the bar, but I've been listening back to it this morning quietly, and I'm almost through to the end of it. I liked that they focused quite a bit on affordability. So they talked about housing, they talked about pipelines, they talked about energy. I would have rather them have gotten down more to the nitty gritty. Like, for example, when Pierre Poilievre asked Carney, how much is your industrial carbon tax going to add to the price of a car? That was a good question. And Carney didn't answer him, because the thing is, it's going to add a lot of cost to the price of a car. But to expand on Poilievre's point, it's not just steel, which of course is a huge issue. It's fertilizer plants, it's fuel refineries. And now we're hearing this candidate, I don't know if you saw that, the Liberal candidate out of Kelowna that was in an all candidates debate there in BC, saying, oh yeah, the carbon tax was working fine, but we had to get rid of it due to noise from the Conservatives. And we're just going to change how we apply it. Meaning, this is still going to screw you with really high taxes and costs, but we're just going to hide the cost. So I am glad that things like the industrial carbon tax were brought up. It's good that they tried to hammer home things on pipelines. I did get frustrated with Mr. Singh constantly talking under and over both Poilievre and to some degree Carney, but Poilievre especially, because just when he was finishing a point on like affordability or something I really wanted to hear the number on, he starts yapping. And I really was hoping that Pakin would shut him down a bit quicker. He was pretty quick on him. Like, he jumped on him 3 or 4 times. So I liked the structure, but I really wanted them to get more down to nitty gritty stuff that average people care about. And that is affordability. And I think this is a general comment. I think sometimes when politicians have been in the game for a long time, or they're already wealthy, like Carney, they forget what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. And I just didn't hear that cadence very often. I did like Poilievre's closing, where he said, I'm sorry I wasn't able to stop and listen to everybody that was been at my rallies. Because again, that's a really good retail politician, somebody who truly actively listens to people. So I thought that was a good closing. Carney did better than I was expecting him to, largely because he seemed like a calm person that was talking about statistics. What I would like to see, though, is more hard questions put to him, because as far as his book goes, he's super anti-energy. And a lot of these policies, guys, are going to cost like billions and billions of dollars. The pipeline ban, the energy cap, and the ban on the sale of regular cars and trucks. Remember, guys, they're going to ban gasoline and diesel powered vehicles like soon. That's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. And I didn't see those kind of grocery store level discussions last night.
Tuz, any questions on the debate? Otherwise, I want to ask Chris about Buttongate, and then we can let her out of here.
Oh, I want to hear all about Buttongate.
Okay. Well, you've so eloquently talked, Chris, about your time in Ottawa and around that, different areas of journalism and campaigns and the press gallery and on and on. This Liberal election staffers planted controversial buttons at last week's Canada Strong and Free Network conference, which you were at in downtown Ottawa.
Oh, you were there?
I was.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is this a new idea or is this a stupid idea? Did they just get caught? In one of the articles I read, it's like, it was a terrible idea and they should have never told a reporter. I'm like, it was just a terrible idea. You don't have to say, I'm like, anyways.
It's a damn shame that the first time the Liberals have ever tried to do anything underhanded in politics, especially in an election, and this being their first crack at it, and they got caught.
To be fair, any political party, I am shocked that they would try something like this. Okay, Canadian Taxpayers Federation hat completely off, okay? So I've covered a lot of these things at conferences and at leadership races. So for example, back during the Stéphane Dion leadership race that was held in Montreal, dating myself here, it was one of the last kind of from the floor votes for a Liberal leader. So, or any real party leader, because now it's all very buttoned down. They mail them in, blah, 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 blah. But those actual leadership vote conferences used to be pretty gnarly for every political party, because you'd have faction by faction, people arguing right on the floor. And at those events, you would often see like goblins would plant these little buttons everywhere. And it happens in a lot of different places. It was happening at conservative leadership rallies. It was happening at liberal leadership rallies. And I witnessed it as a CTV journalist at the time. And so some of the funnier ones back then were things like go for Bob, Ray, go for Bob, go for broke, right? Or Joe Volpe at the time was running for liberal leadership, and it was zombies for Volpe, because apparently he was signing up dead people. So it was kind of cheeky little buttons like that. And you'd see similar ones that were being planted at conservative ones. This was the first time that I can recall seeing one at more of a standard policy conference. So Canada Strong and Free is not necessarily, it's not a Conservative Party event. So people from the PPC, people from, if you want to be with the NDP and come hang out with a bunch of small C conservatives and libertarians, and that's your thing, you're welcome to come. So, but generally speaking, all of the booths are like, you know, Canadian Taxpayers Federation, Second Street. There was a lot of kind of those sort of organizations there with booths. And everything is the fog of war in Ottawa. And so I'm very careful attributing who did what to whom. Someone planted these buttons there. And I only saw one of them on someone's lapel. And I'm like, it's kind of a weird thing to advertise, because you've got media crawling around here everywhere, including the gentleman who was popping off in the debate, by the way, last night. So that was hinky. And then what was kind of strange is to have somebody bragging about it. But that happens in Ottawa, because what happens is right across the street from that conference center is a row of bars. And they get over there, and this one I think was at Darcy McGee's, okay? And somebody started bragging about their genius plan. The thing is some of these staffers, if this happens with all parties, start thinking they're the masters of the universe, and they love getting credit for it. And then they brag about it. But those bars are also full of journalists. And to its credit, I know I'm wearing my Defund the CBC t-shirt. To their credit, that was a CBC reporter that said, it was, wait, gotta be straight up. That was a CBC reporter who apparently even went so far as to identify herself, say, hey, I'm a journalist and I'm listening carefully to what you're saying. And apparently the person, I actually don't know who it is. Apparently the person said, yeah, I know, and kept talking. So it wound up on record. And so now it's blown up in the Liberal War Room's face. The thing here where I, as a Taxpayers Federation spokesperson, I would get concerned is that when you're in the middle of an election, like it's not a party leadership thing, inside the baseball thing of a party. It is more of a general conference. There's media everywhere. There's influencers from all over the country, and you're in the middle of an election. It was so careful, you guys, that during the conference, one of the conference organizers had to read out like a very special statement of we are nonpartisan. This is not like an advertising campaign, because there's all sorts of advertising rules during writ period. And we have to discuss ideas, not who your favorite politician is. And they didn't talk about who their favorite politician was. It was all ideas and freedom and oil and all that stuff. So this is where things get dicey. You start handing out stuff like that at a conference like this in the middle of an election, then you're starting getting into questions about whether or not you're putting your thumb on the scale, which then affects the lives of millions of people.
So it's interesting that Carney said that these people have been reassigned, which is kind of accidentally, implicitly saying that might have been what they were assigned to do in the first place. And also, if you won't fire somebody for trying to plant false flags, and you won't fire somebody else for trying to get a bounty on one of your political rivals, how badly is someone going to have to screw up under Mark Carney before they get their walking papers?
I will say, and I would say this if the colors were reversed, like if this had been, a blue government for the last 10 years that was doing stuff like this and just skating on it all the time. As an observer of politics, it's pretty eyebrow raising what people are getting away with now. Whereas before, like back in the day, and I don't know what caused this change, actually. I don't know if it's people are getting more tolerant of chicanery or they're just so tired because they're working all the bloody time that they don't have time to pay attention to it. It used to be that a lot smaller transgressions used to get you booted from cabinet. Like, you're not allowed in here anymore. You can't talk about this. Like, you're out of here. And I don't actually know what's changed. Whereas now it just seems that anything goes and you can just skate on it. As far as this issue of the person being reassigned or the people, I don't know how many people they say were responsible. Again, I don't know if people know who the person is because I actually don't know. So who knows? Maybe the person wasn't directly employed by the war room and Carney was trying to be careful with how he was wording things. Maybe the person is too important in order to fire them. Maybe they're central to their strategy campaign and they can't afford to lose him or her. So there's all sorts of weird, foggy reasons for stuff like this happening. There's a reason why elections in journalism circles, elections are called the silly season. It's silly season because this sort of stuff happens. Also, people are way more sensitive to things. Like, you can kind of make an offhand comment and it gets really blown up. Because it's in the middle of an election. But yeah, I did see one of the buttons. I didn't see all of them. I imagine once the organizers caught wind of it, they probably desperately tried to go scoop them off whatever table they've been dumped on. But again, the reason why I think there's more scrutiny on this one is because it's in the middle of a general election. This is not just tomfoolery between different rival factions of a specific political party, all within the same game. There you go. So Stop the Steal. That's reference, of course, to what, is alleged to have happened in the United States. We've got, Make Canada Great Again, trying to make people sound kind of MAGA. Then there's the Time to Stay Calm because, talking about the climate. It's all these kind of little undermining things, right? Yeah, those ones are all different. One of them mentions Danielle Smith. That kind of is annoying because the idea that Danielle Smith is somehow like a negative buzzword there, like, Danielle Smith is standing up for Alberta energy and Alberta taxpayers. We're really glad that she cut the Alberta income tax. We don't like everything she does. She shouldn't have given the Edmonton Oilers money. But the idea that someone who is trying to speak reason to President Trump, trying to ease the tariffs on Albertans, trying to get a fair deal for Alberta energy is used as like a pariah in Eastern Canada, that's not helping unity. So yeah, whoever did these buttons, they kind of have a good way. They have a lot of itch powder. I'll put it that way.
Chris, we always appreciate you hopping on and breaking down some things. It's fun to have another guest talk about last night's debate and the shenanigans in the media room, and then of course being at the place where the buttons were dropped off. I think it adds in an insight. Either way, we're going to see you on April 28th. I'm going to see you here in Lloydminster in a couple days.
Yes, you are. It's
so
part of our book tour.
Where exactly are you going?
For the book tour? Mm-hmm. It's been a thing. We were at we started in Drumheller yesterday morning because I wanted Franco to hug my favorite dinosaur, which, by the way,
while it's still there,
that's
community notes. That's not community notes.
No, I will chain myself to that thing's leg. They
are
not moving.
We're gonna talk about it. Well, we could talk about it right now. They're trying to take it.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as I understand, because somebody here might be a dinosaur fanatic. I might have actually looked at houses to buy in Drumheller because I love dinosaurs so much, including that one. So I phoned right away when that story hit the news. There you go. Yeah. Tourists can climb, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the actual dinosaur.
A plan to send Tyra the Tyrannosaurus, the popular tourist attraction that towers over the skyline in Drumheller, Alberta, into proverbial extinction has sparked demands that she be spared. The 25-meter-high figure, 4 times the size of a real T-Rex, attracts 150,000 visitors a year, serving as the backdrop to hundreds of thousands of tourist photos over the last quarter century. Tourists can climb 106 stairs through her innards to stand inside her mouth and look down. But she's set to become history at the end of 2029 is the story.
Sure not. So I phoned right away as soon as this stuff hit the news. And it made international news, by the way, because once you get the dinosaur nerds up on something, literally everybody's in on it. So I phoned Drumheller, and this is how it stands. It sounds like the Chamber of Commerce, or at least somebody at the Chamber of Commerce, has lost their ever-loving mind and is now saying, oh, why would we want a ginormous dinosaur that everybody loves to come take pictures of around the world? Like, stupidest idea ever. So the chamber physically owns the structure of the dinosaur. They net apparently around $200,000 per year for that thing, because anybody who hasn't been there, you can go take pictures of it for free, obviously, but then you walk into this little gift shop and you can climb up the mouth, and I think it's like $10 or $15 or whatever, and it's really cool. You get really cool views from it. It's just awesome. And so from that, and there's a little gift shop there, and from the proceeds of that little tiny building that's like connected to her right foot, apparently her name is Tyra, connected to her right foot, that little gift shop, it nets, I think they told me around 200 grand. So it does not cost taxpayers money, okay? So the physical structure is owned by the chamber. The ground underneath her feet is owned by the town of Drumheller. The town of Drumheller has no plans to change anything there. They told me on the phone repeatedly that they're not planning some scheme to build condos there or something. They're not forcing the dinosaur out. They claim that they were completely broadsided by this stupid idea coming from the Chamber of Commerce, and that they're going to work hard to make sure this doesn't happen. So that's where that stands. This is not some, apparently, I don't live there, this is not some plot by the mayor of Drumheller to get rid of the dinosaur.
When we were on our family vacation this past summer, going down to the States, we didn't go to Drumheller, but we went to a different one. And what those things are amazing for is kids. Kids get to go up into the mouth of a dinosaur.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just cool to watch them, like, just be like, this is amazing, right? Like, this is so cool. And to think that you're going to take that away, I'm like, and it makes 200 grand. You're like, this sounds like Mark Carney's government, you know?
It's the dumbest thing ever. I can't even think of another example where you just be well known for something.
Like imagine going to Vermilion and being like, we're going to make this into an omelet.
This is
That's
so
not
frustrating.
Vermilion, that's Bagerville.
Sorry,
Imagine.
yeah.
Okay, here's an idea. Vulcan,
You get the
Alberta.
point.
No, I get the point.
I knew
So
it started with a V.
Just wait. No, I'm going to go with the V2 here. Look at Vulcan, Alberta. Exactly. Imagine if town council was just like, we hate Star Trek. That's really lowbrow. We're never going to mention it or make eye contact with it. Let's ban everything Star Trek in town. That would be the stupidest thing they could possibly do. And here we have Drumheller, which is like the centerpiece for world dinosaur research and history. And they're like, hey, let's get rid of this. But again, I'm not trying to slag Drumheller City Council, which is, of course, the one that's elected by people and uses taxpayers' money. But it sounds like the Chamber of Commerce has lost its mind. So anybody who wants to save the dinosaur, email the Chamber of Commerce and tell them to knock this off.
How cool would it be, though, if somebody in Vulcan, if they got like a contingent of big Star Wars fans, and there ended up being some kind of like this sort of civil war about like them wanting to take over the town and turn everything Star Trek to Star Wars. And then it ended up kind of being this big back and forth thing. That could be fun. That
could be a summer bash, a summer fest.
Oh yeah.
We could have like lightsabers versus phasers and have them rush each other on the field. Like, is that what you're imagining here?
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
right where the Enterprise is, right when you turn off the exit, there's kind of that field there. Yeah,
I have 100 pictures of it. Yeah.
You could have a bunch of red shirts brawling with Padawans.
You know what I love? You know what I love about this show is, like, you know, if you're not from Alberta, you're like, what are they talking about right now? I have no idea. I'm correcting twos. He's saying Vermilion. If you're sitting in Vermilion, you're going, what is he talking about? It's Vagerville. It's Vagerville, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, you know, it's not a big deal. It's like, yeah, you tell that to Albertans that isn't a big deal? Come on.
Well, I was just like, you know what I meant. And they're basically right next to each other on the road. I'm sure I'm not the first person.
Meanwhile, if you're sitting off in Nova Scotia, you're like, what are these guys talking about?
But you should totally visit Alberta, because we have Star Trek and dinosaurs, and it is flipping awesome.
Chris, we always got the world's biggest everything. I mean,
Chris, we love having you on the show. I got to try and find a way to get twos through the next. We haven't even got into like half the stuff he's got going on.
I'm sorry.
Today.
So, but I'm going to see you.
Not apologize.
I'm going to see you Monday, right?
Yes.
I'm bringing Franco into your studio for this book, And then
Yes,
we're
you are.
having a pub night on Monday night. And folks who support the Taxpayers Federation, you should have already gotten your invite in your email. If you have not, like, text me.
Lloydminster, you hear that? Franco and Chris in town that night. Oh,
Yeah.
baby. That'll be fun. Yes.
Okay, thanks, boys.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
There you go. Okay, this has been a fun morning. This has been a good Friday to start. They're all good Fridays, but today is the Good Friday. Okay, where are we at? Are we at Kearney? Do you want to? Are we talking
Well,
CBC asking questions in Washington?
Yes.
Where do you want to go?
Yes. So that's basically it. So for those of you who haven't been following along, this whole 51st thing that 51st state thing that Carney has more or less hinged his entire campaign on is sort of quietly gone by the wayside for the past little bit. But luckily he has CBC to come to the rescue.
Sure.
On tariffs, yesterday in the Oval Office.
Which outlet are you with?
The Canadian Public Broadcaster.
Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Yesterday in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like. Is it tariff relief on the 25% tariffs that are in place right now, or the new tariffs that are coming up in May on auto parts? And a second on Canada, if I may. President Trump's tone when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have noticed it's shifted a bit in the past few weeks. Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the
So yeah. Anyway, it goes on for at least
Another
twice
minute.
as long.
Yeah.
But this is
CBC's down at the
going to the White House presser, sending Katie Simpson there to make sure that she asks about the 51st state so that they hopefully have a soundbite that they can try and get some legs on. The next interesting thing that happened, I just want to point this out. So Mark Carney, he says, I've managed crises my entire career. I led the Bank of Canada through the 2008 financial crisis and the Bank of England through Brexit. I've been here before, and I have a plan to see Canada through this. Anybody who knows anything about project management knows that the best, most well-executed projects are the most boring ones. Where it's just, okay, I do this. Next thing, that guy does this. This happens, that happens. We're done. Bada bing. Lessons learned. None. We were perfect. In theory, anyway. If you're spending your entire career putting out fires, you suck at your job. You're doing something wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Neil Young has endorsed Liberal leader. You want the gun?
I want this. I want this.
Okay.
We talked about this a few weeks ago about how Police Suivant is running in blah, 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 blah French writing for the Liberals. And how the problem that we have with this woman isn't the fact that she was in a mass shooting or that she's been a gun control advocate. It's that she has no idea what the hell she's talking about when it comes to any of this. And so here's Tracy Wilson from CCFR pointing out when Police Suivant puts up this meme that says, the Conservative Party believes this is a hunting rifle and it's the Durya MK12. Do you know what the 12 stands for? Gauge. The 12 stands for gauge. This is, as Tracy points out, it's literally a shotgun. And then somebody says, it literally has a feature that makes it fully automatic, you potato. Guess what? No, it doesn't. This is a 12 gauge shotgun that's being presented as a rifle because it's black and scary. And I get the fact that everybody in Quebec is racist. But just because something's black doesn't necessarily mean it's scary.
Correct.
Oh, and then World Sikh Organization. They have a bunch of demands that they want to see come from whoever wins the election. They want religious accommodations, including religious accommodations in workplaces, including respirator and hard hat exemptions. Oh, this was a big fight a few years ago when the Sikhs didn't want to have to wear motorcycle helmets because it interfered with the turbans. And look, 50% of the population of Canada is Sikh. 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 50% of the population of Canada I am completely pro-choice in this matter. If you want to drive down the highway at a $1.20 on a tiny little stick with two wheels and not have a helmet on, by all means. Anybody who thinks that this is a problem, just rest assured that the problem will take care of itself very soon. Right? If you want to go to a construction site and not wear a hard hat, that's totally fine. No one's going to be complaining about it for long because it's going to stop being an issue the first time something falls. And if you don't want to wear a respirator, like imagine going into a confined space and you're like, I'm not going to put on an SCBA because I have to wear a turban. So I'm just going to, well, you know what? Once you haul that guy's corpse out of there, no one is going to be left complaining about it. And so as long as the companies that they work for are absolved of any sort of liability regarding disability claims or mortality or whatever else, if somebody wants to, for religious reasons or otherwise, it doesn't matter what it is. If you just say, I don't want to wear a hard hat, and you sign a thing saying that it's my dumbass who's on the line if I don't, by all means, go up on that rig floor buck naked.
Neil Young has endorsed Liberal leader Mark Carney for Prime Minister. I feel like this is the kiss of death.
But check out the headline. Western Standard. When you nail it, you nail it. Angry American millionaire hippie endorses Mark Carney. That's just chef's kiss, Sean. That's beautiful. Well done, Western Standard.
Canadian polls are garbage twos. Let's talk about the fact that most Canadians feel is safe or safer than 10 years ago. A Nanos poll finds. Conservative voters are another story.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's that. Let me just jump ahead to it, I guess, considering we're doing everything out of order. Now, it's interesting.
What are you talking about out of order?
There's like
I
five
take
things.
offense to that.
Well, I don't know why. It's not like you even understand what I'm talking about.
Did you add things in this morning? Is that what you did? Is that what you did?
Possible. It's possible.
It's possible. So you know what happens here, folks? He gives me a hard time about everything being out of order. And what did he do? He went back and added things, didn't you? Because Sean was on time this morning and he went through it all. And I've been sitting in here. You know what? You want to know how early I was today? I'll show you.
If you're showing me a clock, it's going to show what time it is now. You know that's how
I got here.
work, right?
I got here early because I bought a new stick. Okay. And
how does that demonstrate what time it is?
And I was done so early, folks. I taped this and then I cut it. It's all ready to go. I got a brand new twig. I sat here. I'm like, I'm going to tape it. So I walked up to the vehicle, taped it up. That's how early I was. Mm-hmm. And what Toos did while I was doing that is he added things in that I couldn't possibly know about because they weren't on the list when I got here this morning and went through the list. That's what happened.
Okay.
This is what I have to deal with on this side.
I've got to deal with 5-minute monologues about using a hacksaw for 30 seconds. So Canadians feel as safe or safer than 10 years ago. Nanos polls finds. Conservative voters are another story. It's interesting that the question, do you feel safer, somewhat less safe, or about the same in your neighborhood today compared to 10 years ago? There's no, I live in a different neighborhood. There's not even an, I live in a different country. We've imported, what, in the past 10 years? We've brought in something like 5 or 6 million people. And there wasn't even an option for, I lived in Venezuela 10 years ago. This is an improvement for now. There's so much nuance that just gets purposely omitted in these things. And this is weird. I just genuinely don't understand this, and I blame the media. Trust in Canada's court system to punish convicted violent criminals appropriately. Do you trust somewhat, blah, 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 Canada's court system? Trust 27%, somewhat trust 27%, somewhat not trust 13%, and don't trust or not trust 29%. I feel like if anybody has been watching this show, and how we start off with the Coot 6.5 every week, they'd be like, well, this is a no-brainer. Okay, another thing is, here you go. 338 Canada, which is the aggregate of pollsters, has the Libs winning 9 seats in Alberta and nearly 40 across Western Canada.
Yeah, look at that map.
Now, this is crazy. I talked about this last week. I said that I saw one Liberal sign in Calgary on somebody's yard. Right? It was actually attached to their fence. And in the past week, just traveling around wherever else, I've seen one other Liberal sign in a yard. And I get the fact that it's not a perfect thing. And I get the fact that it's not like I'm driving on every road in this province. But do you really think that after everything that Trudeau did, the Liberals are now poised to have their best ever showing, best ever in the history of the party showing in Alberta?
It's funny, under that link on my side, Rupa Subramanya, who was just in Calgary, had put that she couldn't believe how many Liberals she ran into in Calgary, and that it was more left than Ottawa. That was what she'd wrote. And I chuckled because where did she go? She went to the university for a debate against Max Fawcett. And I was like,
that's basically, yeah, that's ground
right?
zero. That's
right?
ground zero.
But there's more Liberals than ever. There's more Liberals than ever.
I want to
Like,
know if Max Fawcett had to get like a stepping stool behind the podium. I hear that guy is just tall enough to not have a giant forehead and pudgy fingers.
I can't make short jokes on this side, sadly.
All right. Well,
I mean, I can.
I'm not amazingly tall, but I can at least I at
Neither
least
is
have
Carney,
trouble.
as it turns
I have
out.
trouble, unlike Matt Fawcett, I have trouble fitting into the leg holes of a shopping cart.
I have rapid fire news next, and I know I'm out of sync with you. So you tell me,
Okay.
Twos.
All right,
on Good
here's
Friday, what are we
something
going to talk
rapid fire.
about?
All right, so video from Mark Zelaya. He's showing
Team. Yeah, there it is. Team Trudeau. She covered.
So this is a Karina Gold sign. So presumably they had these printed before Trudeau resigned, and they didn't want to have Team Trudeau. Here's how well Justin Trudeau did. That the dust hasn't even settled from him dragging his sorry ass out of that seat. And his people are already covering up the Team Trudeau on the lawn signs. And that's
Correct.
not actually in somebody's lawn. That's in a park, it looks like. So, yeah, here's more rapid fire. We covered that already. We talked about that. Liberal Party. If we're going to compare resumes, let's talk about the fact that Pierre Poilievre has never had a job outside of politics. He became a politician in his early 20s. Presumably, he had at least some job before that. You know, even if it was just a fledgling career, like snowboard instructor or teaching for half a year at a school. But I feel like if you're going to talk about having a sparse resume before becoming prime minister, the Liberals might want to just sit out that conversation. They might just want to speak when spoken to. They don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to grandstanding about impressive resumes for the leaders of their party. All right. Now,
The Nova Scotia Supreme Court just dismissed a discrimination complaint on the basis that there is no right to be offended.
No right to not be offended.
Not be offended. Thank you. This is a significant victory for Canadians' freedom of speech. University and Society for Academic Freedom and Scholarship of Discrimination. Well, they filed a thing for discrimination after Dr. John McKinnon had published an article critiquing the state of academic integrity in post-secondary institutions. And Justice Boudreau, in her decision, wrote, "Being upset or offended is not the same as discrimination."
This literally went to the Nova Scotia Supreme Court. This should almost be goofy news, but
this is goofy news.
All right. This woman, Catherine Cronus, She wanted to get formally on the record. She was in some kind of a Zoom meeting that was starting with a land acknowledgement. And she pointed out that they're stupid, shallow, and that she wanted it reflected on the record that the land acknowledgement did not represent her. And we need more of that. Because let's think, like, land acknowledgements, they are a zero effort, vapid virtue signal where you feel better about it without actually having to do anything to fix the problem, which is the liberals in a nutshell. Like, that's how they approach everything. What can I do that makes me feel good about the fact that there's a problem without actually having to lift a finger in an effort to fix it? Because if you're saying that this is their land, the obvious question is, one, when are you going to get off of it? And two, do they get it back? And that's never discussed.
Mississauga man charged with mutilating, killing puppies he bought online. A Mississauga man who allegedly abused several puppies faces charges after they were found either dead or badly mutilated. That's 43-year-old Zhang Wang was arrested in connection with the alleged animal abuse and charged with 4 counts of each of causing unnecessary suffering to animals, killing or injuring animals, and cruelty to animals.
Yes. So that's pretty dark. And
That is
also
dark.
it's, as somebody, Mrs. Twos loves falling asleep watching murder porn. And quite often they'll go to like talk to somebody who knew that person in their childhood and say that they had a thing for mutilating animals and then eventually became serial killers. So I would watch out for that guy. Just saying. But also he buys them. He buys all these puppies and then mutilates, tortures, and kills them. With a name like that, he's probably not very long in Canada. And so somebody should just maybe mention to him that it is incredibly easy in this country. Instead of puppies, it's very easy to buy politicians.
The Linamar plant, less than 2 years after Linamar said it was opening a new state-of-the-art giga casting factory in Welland, Ontario, the property has been put up for sale.
So they got, what was it, $1.1 billion? $1.1 billion worth of government money, which is our money, to build this factory, which was going to create 10,000 jobs, as well as 2,300 positions in the automotive sector. So they got the money to build the factory, never even did, literally nobody has done any work in this factory aside from its construction. They got the money, put it up for sale, and presumably put the money in the Caymans, where Mark Carney is going to help them shelter it from the tax man.
Well, I'd read those big numbers too, but part of the article too talks about how it was going to create 200 jobs in that community. Not because if you read down, the big numbers is where they're going back to, which is a different spot. I think. Did I read that wrong? Because it was talking that their 300,000 foot square facility was completed in 2024. 200 new jobs were set to start, and then they got rid of it all.
They did another facility that had those. Okay,
correct.
So the 200 jobs. The 200 jobs.
Correct.
Okay.
200 jobs. The 10,000 are still there, as far as I understand. But this place,
they got a bunch of money to build a factory, and then said,
and then as soon as it was done, thank you, and walked out and put it up for sale. Unifor urges Canadian action as GM halts reduces Bright Drop EV production at Cami Assembly Plant. The news of General Motors' decision to temporarily halt and then reduce production of the Bright Drop electric delivery van at Cami Assembly Plant is devastating for Unifor members, their families, and the entire Ingersoll community. GM has informed Unifor that Cami Assembly will initiate temporary layoffs starting April 14th, with workers returning in May for limited production. After that, production will temporarily cease, with operations idling until October of 2025. During this downtime, GM plans to complete retooling work to prepare for the facility for production of the 2026 model year of the commercial electric vehicles. And when production resumes in October, the plant will operate on a single shift for the foreseeable future, a reduction that is expected to result in the indefinite layoff of nearly 500 workers.
Yes. So this is from Unifor, and they're upset that the things that their people are making aren't being bought by anybody. And the company says, okay, well, we need to make fewer of them. And they said, well, this isn't fair. We have all these people that want to make these things. And they said, okay, but nobody's buying them, so we don't need to make them anymore. And so now they're calling on the government. They're saying nobody else is buying this stuff. The government needs to buy this stuff. So basically, you have the government subsidizing something that they don't want or need. Like, hey, we don't want this. Okay, but you have to buy it because otherwise these people won't have jobs. What contribution to the economy does somebody make building something that nobody wants? Zero. But Unifor is calling on the Canadian government. It's the smart choice for Canadian business, government agencies, and for our economy. No, it literally isn't. Otherwise, they would have bought it. And the smart choice for the economy is to let it decide. Procurement and industrial policy go hand in hand. No, the fuck they do not.
Goofy news. I listen. I didn't even know. Like I haven't watched anything Marvel in quite some time. I hadn't seen anything about this movie, so then I went and watched the trailer. I thought the trailer looked really good, except there's this one thing. You're like, Silver Surfer. Okay, like, am I remembering this wrong, or is this just Disney's putting their thumb on the scale too?
Well, I mean, you do have the whole Kathleen Kennedy put a chick in it, make her gay, make her lame thing. And then this is a great side-by-side of the second Fantastic Four movie, which had the Rise of the Silver Surfer. There it is on the left. This is where their CGI was 20 years ago. And on the right, here's where it's at today. And also, I feel like they could have made her hotter.
So is the complaint then that it's the CGI, or is it the complaint that it's a woman? Was it Silver Surfer
it's a woman.
Dude? Isn't Silver Surfer a dude?
Silver Surfer is and always has been a dude. Okay? So Silver Surfer's a dude who ends up being the Herald of Galactus.
Yes.
Okay. And then now it's a chick, and she's not all that hot. And also the CGI looks like crap. Do you remember when Sonic the Hedgehog, when they released the first couple trailers and they had that?
And then they went and redid it all over again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or when Snow White released those things with the diversity hires for the dwarves, and then retooled it into a band of miscreants or some damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so this is their, you looked at it, you're like, okay, well, I'm a little bit hopeful. Despite the fact that it's got Pedro Pascal in it, and they could have had what's his name from The Office, who was much better in Multiverse of Madness.
Why didn't they do that?
Well, presumably because Pedro
he turned it
Pascal
down.
is their darling. They love Pedro Pascal over at Disney.
Yeah, he would have. Jim from The Office would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
John Krasinski would have been fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
He would have been. He would have been fantastic. When he popped up. Yes, he did. You're like, oh, that'd be so cool. And I don't know, like the Marvel world. Me and you have had this discussion lots. I'm a DC guy. I like DC. But yeah, I've had all the time in the world for how Marvel's went about creating their universe, albeit, lately, or, I just think I've probably had, like most people, my fill of superheroes. But like I watched the preview. I'm like, this doesn't look that bad. I mean, Fantastic Four is a tough one because I didn't like any of the movies that came out. I just thought they were, And so you're like, well, here's a chance for them again. And then, Silver Surfer's a woman. I don't care about the CGI. I mean, I care about the CGI, but like, to me, it's like, but that's not the character.
No,
it's what?
No, it's not.
Doesn't make any sense.
And it never goes the other way.
I mean, it makes sense because of where we're at in this world. But like, if you're gonna do the characters, just do the characters. You're messing with. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Well, welcome to the goofy news. Unanimous decision of court in the court of the UK. The term woman, folks, this is shocking, refers to a biological woman. There you go. Here's J.K. Rowling. All right, there you go. So that's pretty cool news, I guess. 2025. We know that a woman is a woman. Like, I mean, we need the court to tell us that. But hey, then you got the next one. Okay, here's I was wondering about the daisy on. You remember we were talking last night? Why is Carney wearing a daisy? Is it because Katy Perry? Is it got something to do with her being in space with a daisy? Like, is that what it is about? Or am I just wrong? Am I tying things that aren't
It looked
tied
like
together?
I wasn't entirely sure, but it kind of looked like one of those honorary medals that Canada gives out to people who don't derp people or, pull people out of burning cars, but just like, when they've done, interesting bureaucratic things. They get sometimes, so like when you get a medal, sometimes you'll get a pin to go along with it. And it looked like a pin that went along with the medal. And something was tickling the back of my head, and I couldn't put it together. I don't think it's this daisy. But yeah,
But
for
he
those
wore
of
a
you who
daisy.
didn't know,
He wore a daisy last
it wasn't
night,
a
right?
daisy. It wasn't a daisy. I don't think so.
You sure?
Oh, Kevin says Carney's pin was the Order of Canada.
Oh, well.
There you go.
What do we know? Okay, well, here, what Katy Perry, pop star Katy Perry, and 5 other women safely returned to Earth after reaching space aboard Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket. The singer was joined by Bezos' fiance Lauren Sanchez and CBS presenter Gayle King, who said a highlight of the flight was hearing Perry sing Louis Armstrong, "What a Wonderful World." They lasted 11 minutes, and it took 6 women more than 100 kilometers up, 62 miles above Earth. What are your thoughts, Tuz?
Well, this was the best tweet on it by far. Oh, okay, there we go. If going to space for 3 minutes makes you an astronaut, then I'm a gynecologist.
Let's be clear. You know what? I'm all for harassing this story, but if we got to go up in a rocket and float, we would have thought it pretty cool. Although,
even not even just a rocket, like even that plane that does they all do parabolic flight patterns, but when they're descending, they descend at 9.81 meters per second squared, or accelerate descending at 9.81 meters per second squared, so that you're coming to Earth at exactly the opposite rate, so that you in the plane are effectively weightless. I would love to do that.
I would too. I think that'd be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, whatever. It's whatever. Toronto launches a campaign to protect migrating birds from slamming into windows this spring. The city of Toronto is launching its annual Lights Out Toronto, and it encourages people to participate by turning off their non-essential lights in their homes at night. This can help reduce the number of collisions and help protect the birds. I highly doubt it. I would say it's probably going to be the big office buildings. Wouldn't you, Tuz?
I would say that seems a little bit more likely. Also, the city claims that around 25 million birds are killed every year across Canada due to collisions with building windows. The best data I could find from that was like 8 years ago, and it talked about it said something like 95% of avian deaths were caused by a combination of windmills, cats, windows, and one other thing. And
windmills are where in the flight pattern you need wind. Yeah, anyways, doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean,
like,
if you care so much about birds not getting killed, maybe we just don't put giant blenders in the sky. Like, you guys keep saying that it's killing all these birds, but all that ever falls out of the sky is salsa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oilers. The Oilers are back. Come on.
Oh,
Oil.
this is just remember.
First you got Carney, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then you got the logo, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And now I assume you're going to show the commercial, or you're just going to talk?
Dance center ice.
Okay.
And then now, I mean, look, I get it. It's Edmonton. It's pretty gay, but they just really want to seize this, and so they got one of their better players in the past.
One of their better players. Come on. Come
They got one
on.
of their better players to do an
Come
endorsement
on.
because apparently he finally spent all the Lay's money, and now they came out with this new thing, and so here is some guy who looks like a moose, I think, according to my notes.
Are you going to pull it up, or are you going to...
Fact
There you
check,
go.
that's actually not true.
It's in our DNA.
In a
Phrasing.
surprising move, the city has voted 7-5 to retire Edmonton's City of Champions slogan.
Yeah, because it's not exactly relevant anymore.
The City of Champions
Says the guy whose team isn't making the playoffs.
everything, ups and downs.
As Edmontonians, I feel like every single one of us is a champion in our own way.
No, you're not.
It was more than a slogan. It was about the people of Edmonton rising to the occasion, no matter what.
You know, can I just say, him talking about, it's about Edmonton rising to the occasion. Here's a cool fun fact, okay? Do you recall where the man who saved the Edmonton Oilers was from?
The man who saved the Edmonton Oilers.
Correct.
You mean Grant Fuhr's drug dealer?
No, I do not mean that, Tiz. Back in the late 90s, when all the Canadian teams were facing a problem of possibly having to relocate to the States because of the dollar, right?
Okay.
A guy by the name of Cal Nichols, when the Oilers were selling,
Mhm.
helped save the Edmonton Oilers. And did he go to the businesses of Edmonton? I'm sure he did. But you know where all that conglomerate came from that bought up the Edmonton Oilers?
I'm guessing Lloydminster.
All across Alberta.
Okay.
And so Cal Nichols is originally from Paradise Hill. His number is retired in the St. Walburg Arena. And he never played.
He's not even Albertan.
He never played a single game for the St. Walburg, but he for the senior team there, but they retired his number there. He ran gas stations there. Anyways, long story short, I got to interview him.
That's actually good. I like that story.
Yeah. So like okay, beyond it being Budweiser and it's just driving me nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Moose says, "Oh, Edmonton's got up debt," and it's like, no, you're missing it again. The Edmonton Oilers might as well be the Alberta Oilers. Okay, that's what we're the Alberta. It isn't just Edmonton. The reason you still have a team, you morons, is because of Albertans, not because of Edmonton. It was Pocklington that, like, it's just, the commercial annoys me on so many levels. And you know what? The Flames suck. So there, suck it. Okay, they're out of the playoffs. They're not even making it. Just move on, shall we?
They've got more time to train for the next season. This was on purpose.
365 more days till next season. Anyways, okay, sure. What are you doing? I'm not sure what's crazier, Bernie Sanders speaking at Coachella or the fact that 60% of attendees financed their tickets. So Bernie Sanders was at Coachella. That doesn't even like what?
I am once again asking you to put your hands up in the air.
And then the other part, approximately 60% of general admission ticket buyers at this year's festival opted to use Coachella's payment plan to get the tickets.
So this isn't, well, it's a new thing, but it's not a brand new thing. I left it on the cutting room floor. I didn't put it in, but the Royal we were just looking at a couple weeks ago. You can now finance DoorDash.
You can finance DoorDash?
So if you are lying on your couch in the basement, hung to the tits on a Sunday morning, and you just need 3 McChickens and a giant thing of fries with a Diet Coke to get you right so that you can get going, you can just DoorDash and then put it on layaway. You can put your McNuggets. You can buy a McNugget, Sean, and put it on layaway.
You know, I hear things like that, and I'm like, I think Carney's winning. Like, I hear that, and I'm like, that voters voting for Carney, aren't they? You need the McNuggets so bad. You're gonna put, put it on.
You're gonna put
like,
McNuggets on layaway. All right, can I get some Szechuan sauce? No, that'll make you an indentured servant. And so, anyway, 60% of the tickets sold to Coachella, which is obviously like just a bastion of libertarian think tanks and economic analysis. If I put this on layaway, I can buy 3 more tabs of ecstasy. That's basically what people went with.
Here's Matt Walsh. You've heard of mostly peaceful riots. Now we're introducing non-violent human sacrifice. This is CBS. Ancient altar found in Guatemala jungle apparently used for sacrifices, especially of children, archaeologist says. And then it goes, we see how the issue of sacrifice exists in both cultures. It was a practice. It's not that they were violent. Well, anyways. I mean,
yes. So they just very gently murdered their children.
Correct. It was peaceful. It was a peaceful murder.
They're worried about being called racist by saying that people who sacrifice children did it violently.
Toronto residents howling mad over the calls to euthanize coyotes. The coalition, Coyote Safety Coalition, that is a grassroots organization based in Liberty Village, claims there's been 90 altercations involving coyotes since November of 2024. And it sounds like they just need a little bit of prairie justice to come out there on the.
Well, that's
on the
exactly it,
right?
Like it's just absolutely.
This isn't hard. This isn't hard.
This isn't complicated.
Get your gun license.
This is exactly what AR-15s were built for, by the way. 223,
pew, pew.
Perfect
pew,
for coyotes.
Yep.
And yet they literally have advocacy agencies saying, please don't shoot the coyotes. Okay. The only thing in retrospect that really surprised me about the worldwide reaction to COVID was that we didn't have a bunch of bleeding heart liberal idiots complaining about how many coronaviruses were being needlessly murdered.
That's gonna do. Are we on the happy news community notes? What are we at here? Happy news? Do we have happy news?
I can't remember if I put in it. Did I put in a happy news?
Happy news is today is Good Friday, folks.
Okay, all right, there you go.
That's the happy news. All right.
My bad.
Hopefully,
I dropped the ball on that.
I was watching the numbers. Right, they're not bad at all today, but low considering what we've been hitting. Last night on the live stream, we had 13.6. So 13,600 people watching.
And that's simultaneous. That's not total. That's simultaneous.
Correct. And that was super cool. I'm glad to see the number low because that means, I'm getting texts from my mom. She's like, "Are you in church today?" I'm like, "No, Mom. We're mashing it up. We're mashing it up." But the good news is it's Good Friday. There's your good news, folks. Okay. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, just do a little Googling and you'll right. Carol Scobie, have a blessed Easter, guys. To all you guys as well and ladies.
Yes.
Yeah, happy Easter, everyone. It's a great weekend. Hopefully you're getting to spend some time with family on the weekend. Yes.
Also, the community notes was just going to be talking about the dinosaur and how there's now a petition to get that dinosaur.
Next week, so Monday, I'm going to re-show our live stream from last night. So Tuesday will be Drew Weatherhead on the podcast, and he was in town and gave me the what did he call it? The manuscript. It's before it goes in for edit. But anyways, it doesn't matter. It's here's his new book, Fractures in Love. It's going to be a 4-part dystopian series. And you can get it right now for 99. You can pre-order it with one click on Amazon for 99 cents. I just put it in the comments. For 99 cents. What he's trying to do is get it bumped up for when it releases, and you can buy the paperback or the hardback print. Either way, 99 cents right now for Kindle, and that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it. Obviously, people can tune in Tuesday and hear Drew on the podcast.
And for those of you unfamiliar with him, definitely listen.
Yeah.
He co-hosted the Mashup one week when Sean was off gallivanting. He's been on your show multiple times.
Yes, he has. Yeah, a ton of time. He's a guy who he did the Social Disorder podcast. He was doing it solo, like pretty much 5 days a week, And this will be his third book too, since I've known him, right? Or since we've known him. He's got a pretty incredible story. Takes his family down to the States for 6 months a year. Looks like they're going to be heading, spoiler alert, looks like they might be heading to Japan. So there's talk of that, which is interesting. And then he's writing this book. I started reading it last night.
I didn't realize they'd built the road.
And then here, one other thing. I don't know if you know this, but we got this thing called the Federal Live Stream coming up April 28th. We're starting at noon Mountain Standard Time. That's 2 Eastern. That's 11 Pacific. Take your time zone, whatever you want. We're going to have a full cast of characters, and we're going to set the new high watermark for the mashup. We were at 13.6 this last time. Whatever you're doing on Monday, April 28th, make sure to remember that we'll be live on X. You're going to have to we're going to have to be careful here. I would say, and what I mean by that is, normally we're live on my Facebook, we're live on all the YouTube channels, Rumble, etc. On this,
it's going to be a little different.
It's going to be a little different. So you got to search us out on X. For sure, we'll be on X. We probably won't be on all the different channels, folks, because we're bringing on a bunch of different people to broadcast on their channels and try and make this the largest live stream humanly possible. We're trying to get the numbers as large as it can go, and we're going for 12 hours this time. So we're going to be there all day long. We hope you'll hop in, come watch some, share it with people. It's going to be a ton of fun. Two's, any other thoughts?
Well, there's this event coming up soon in Calgary. Yeah, it's called the Cornerstone Forum. Just recent I don't know if we can announce it yet, but you've got a big name that's going to be introducing a bunch of people and moderating one of the panels. It's 222 minutes. So this is your chance to see him live. There's some other stuff there too. I can't remember. It's not super important. But the thing about it is that 222 minutes is they're introducing people and moderating a panel.
Yeah, Tuesday is going to be one of the. So we got 4 different roundtables. Tom Bodrovics is hosting the one on Sound Money, and Chris Sims is going to be hosting the one on how the West was captured. And now Tuesday is going to be hosting Solutions in a World Full of Problems with Chase Barber, Kaylin Ford, and Rod Giltaka. So that should be a ton of fun. And if you missed it earlier this week, Jim Sinclair, a fan favorite of this show and of the podcast, right? 34 years in the military. He's going to also be joining the cast of characters in Calgary, May 10th. And probably the biggest thing to note right now, if you're watching this, folks, is I think it's 7 days or 8 days now left to get a ticket with food. We got to have our numbers in for food 2 weeks before the event. And that event is coming up fast. Like, it is going to be here fast. And so if you haven't bought your ticket yet, go buy your ticket, because if you want to get food and be a part of supper and all that great stuff, go buy your ticket. Don't wait anymore. And it's showpass.com/Cornerstone Forum 25. So there you go. Yes, lots of great things. Tuesday, Good Friday to you all. Hopefully the weekend. Happy Easter, everyone. Appreciate you hopping on with us. We're here every Friday, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, April 28th. We got 12 hours of live streaming coming your way, and looking forward to everybody hopping on and being a part of this. Any final thoughts, Tues, before we get out of here?
That's basically it, my friend.
Cool. Well, folks, thanks again for hopping in. We'll catch you next week.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, popping, locking, salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the mashup. Welcome